Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Our topic is importance of water. As we know that water is a special liquid for the living organisms, and it is very important because our cell cytoplasm consists of 90% water, and without a water no reaction can occur in the cytoplasm. So about 70% of any organism is formed of water. Its lowest percentage in living organism is 20, and its highest percentage is 90. Most of the living organism and their cells cannot survive without water. Even the bones, which are the dry and the hardest form of cells, they also consist of 20% water, and other cells contain more than 20% water up to the 90%, and it helps in the maintaining of the structure, maintaining of the organism's body, maintaining their internal chemical reaction. So water is very important, and this importance is given to the water because of their special properties, and here we will study about the properties of the water. What are the properties of water which make it important? So many importance is given to the water because of its properties. So let's study the properties of the water. Number one is the high polarity. What is polarity? Polarity is the bond or the force of attraction between the atoms which are joined together by a covalent bond. When the atoms combine, they share their electrons, so a bond is formed between them, and that bond is known as covalent bond. The shared electron then move between the two atoms equally, but sometimes in some atoms the electron doesn't move equally for the two atoms, but one atom attract it more and the other atom attract it less. So a partial negative sign is appear on the atom which attract the shared electron more, and partial positive sign appear on the atom which attract the shared electron less, and this condition is known as polarity. Here this is the structure of the water molecule, in which one oxygen and two hydrogen combine and they form the structure of the water. Here one atom is shared by hydrogen, one electron is shared by hydrogen, and one electron is shared by oxygen. But this shared pair doesn't move equally for the two atoms. This is attracted more by oxygen and less by hydrogen, and that is why partial negative sign is appear on oxygen and partial positive sign is appeared on hydrogen, and this make it polar. And we know that this is the high polarity of the water molecule. This polarity of the water helps the water molecule more reactive, because when any other solutes, when any other chemical compounds are put into the water, they break into ions, and that ions are more easily attracted by hydrogen and oxygen, and that is why it make it universal solvent. Because of this property, the water is universal solvent. Water is more soluble as compared to the other solvent, because the water has two hydrogen which are partial positive, one oxygen which is partial negative, and these two partial positive and one partial negative atom attract more solute as compared to the other solvent, and this is very important property of the water for the living organism. The next is the hydrogen bonding. Hydrogen bonding is a weak bonding between the two water molecules. Like this, the water molecule, this is also a water molecule, and this is also a water molecule. Each water molecule is attracted by another water molecule. Like this, the hydrogen of this water molecule is attracted by this oxygen, the hydrogen of this water molecule is attracted by this oxygen. So all the water molecule, when they are put into a container, each water molecule is attracted by another one, and this attraction is because of the hydrogen and oxygen attraction, which is known as hydrogen bonding. And this bonding is normally denoted by dotted lines because it is a weak hydrogen bonding, can break easily, and this property of the water make it also reactive, more reactive as compared to the other molecules, as compared to the other solvents. The next property is the cohesion and adhesion. Cohesion means the attraction between water molecule. Adhesion means the attraction between polar surfaces. It means that the cohesion is the attraction between water molecule, like this in the previous property we discussed, that the one water molecule is attracted by another water molecule through hydrogen bonding. So when the water molecules are attracted to each other, this property is known as cohesion, and this property helps water to move in a column. Like when we say that the xylem absorb water from the soil and then move it to the upper parts of the plants, and as well as when the water moves in the human body, it also moves in a column, because each water molecule is attracted to each other. When one is pulled, the other is also moved with this. The second property is the adhesion, attraction between polar surfaces. It means that the water can be attracted by other polar molecule. When it combines with the other polar molecule, it is attracted, and in this way the water can be pulled easily with the force of attraction with the other polar molecules. The next property of the water is the high specific heat. What is high specific heat? Amount of heat required for minimum increase, that is 1 degree centigrade or 1 degree Kelvin. What is the high specific heat of water? That heat which is required to increase the temperature of 1 gram of water at least 1 degree centigrade. So that heat is known as high specific heat. That heat which is required for the increase of 1 degree centigrade of 1 gram of water is known as high specific heat. And water is the solvent which have more high specific heat than other solvent, and that is why it is also known as temperature stabilizer, because the most of the heat which is given to the water is used in the breaking of the hydrogen bonding first, then it used to break the bond between hydrogen and oxygen, that is covalent bond. So most of the heat is used in the breaking of the hydrogen bonding, and when that heat is released, that is much more heat, which is much more than as compared to the other solvent. And when we heat up, the temperature is heat up in the surrounding, the animals and the plants living in the water remain alive, because water doesn't heat up at normal temperature, or the temperature which is used to heat up the other solvent. So water acts as a temperature stabilizer because its high specific heat is more as compared to the other solvent. The next property is the high heat of vaporization. High heat of vaporization. What is high heat of vaporization? The heat required a unit mass of liquid into gas. The heat which is required to change a liquid, a specific amount of liquid into gas, is known as heat of vaporization. And the water is the solvent which has high heat of vaporization as compared to the other solvent, that is 574 calories per gram. 574 calories per gram heat is required for the change of water from liquid state into gaseous state. That is very high heat, and that is why water is it is difficult to change water from the liquid into gaseous state. And this is useful for the living organism, because water doesn't vaporize easily, and the living organism remain alive. Maybe the plants or the animals. The next property is the hydrophobic exclusion. Hydrophobic exclusion. What is the hydrophobic exclusion? That is the reduction of the area of contact between water and hydrophobic substances. Hydrophobic substances are those substances which are not dissolved in water. So when they are put into the water, they try to reduce their area. They try to combine together like this. These are the water area. If you put the drops of the oil, it will try to combine into one area like this. They remain contact in one area, or they reduce their area, and this is hydrophobic exclusion. And it helps in maintaining especially the structure of the membrane, the lipid bilayer, which is made up of the lipid bilayer, and it is useful for the their structure, like the structure of the cell, the structure of the organelles inside the cell, and they remain in contact with each other, and they don't be scattered by any other molecule. Next is the ionization. Ionization is the dissociation into ions. Means that any molecule when dissociate into its ion, like the water, so water molecule, oxygen and the two hydrogen, when they dissociate into hydroxyl ion, oxygen and hydrogen ion. This dissociation of water into hydroxyl and hydrogen ion is known as ionization. And this ionization helps in the different chemical reaction inside the living organism. It also helps in maintaining the pH of the blood in human body. The last property is the lower density. Lower density means that normally the water have high density in liquid state, but when it change into ice form, its density become lower because of its lattice structure. All the water molecules are arranged in such a structure, attracted by each other, that its density become lower as compared to the liquid state, and that is the reason that the ice floats normally at the surface of the water, and it protect the living organism living inside the water. So all these are the properties of the water which make it very important for the living organism.